behind 38 points from Zion Williamson. He has been on fire. It was his second straight game with at least 35. He's been simply sensational of late. But the big stories in the NBA were the post-trade deadline wheeling and dealing. The Lakers have signed Andre Drummond. They announced yesterday the Lakers star players and front office recruiting Drummond hard, selling him on the opportunity to step into the defending champions starting lineup. That coming a day after LaMarcus Aldridge, a seven-time All-Star, agrees to sign with the Nets for the rest of the year, joining that loaded roster as Brooklyn pursues its first NBA championship. And that led our friend Stephen A. Smith to say this.
So what's next? I mean, we gonna get the ball boy next? I mean, this is almost like buying a championship, for crying out loud. What about competition? We just gonna get everybody now? Everybody? But if we just gonna stockpile and get everybody and everybody running to Brooklyn to try to steal a championship, I mean, come on.
Buy a championship. Here's the one and only Jay Williams, the Jay from KJZ. What do you think? You heard what Steve said. What do you think?
Everybody has opportunity to go out and get players. I mean, the Lakers got Andre Drummond. That's a huge addition for the Lakers. I will say this. When James Harden came over to the Nets, I already thought it was over, Greeny. I said it multiple times. This is the best scoring trio the game has ever seen. Mm-hmm. That turned into a debate about, hey, are they the best team? I said, no, I didn't say they're the best team. That's Golden State with KD, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. But the way these guys can score, yes, they're the best scoring trio. I think bringing Blake Griffin over and now LaMarcus Aldridge are pieces that help unlock them. LaMarcus Aldridge was an all-star a couple years ago. If you've been paying attention to basketball, he hasn't been that great over the last couple of years, okay? He's a guy that can average 12 points, maybe 4 or 5 rebounds, can give you some assists here or there, but it's more about how they play. Him and Blake Griffin unlock KD, James Harden, and Kyrie in all pick and rolls. That's why it's going to work.
So two thoughts. One, he doesn't have to be great on this team.
Yes, he doesn't have to.
He has to carry anything. Second, I think that the problem here might be the perception that the Nets, who are already loaded, and the Lakers, who are already loaded, added players, and you look at the Utahs, the Phoenixes, the Milwaukees, the other teams, the small market teams that aren't so glamorous, that don't, and I think a lot of people look at it and say, what are they, the Washington Generals? I mean, how is this thing supposed to work?
Well, that's on the teams, though, right? I mean, the teams are allowed to offer whatever you want. Those individuals can choose whether they accept that offer or not in the buyout market. It's like an arms race, essentially. So, look, players at this stage of their career are finding out these are the teams they want to be on because they want to win championships. It's not a knock to smaller teams. It's just people don't feel like they can win a championship. Andre Drummond doesn't feel like he can win a championship in Phoenix. Maybe that's how he feels.
I got it. But I remember when KD went to Golden State, my immediate reaction was, he obviously can do whatever he wants. I've never criticized him for doing what he wanted to do. But it ruined the season. There was just a foregone conclusion. No one could play with them. Is the East a foregone conclusion at this point? Can anybody...
It's been a foregone conclusion, in my opinion. I said that when James Harden went over. That's the first thing I said. Milwaukee will be there. The 76ers will be there. There are really good teams in the conference. But at the end of the day, I said it just with James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant. If they're both on the floor, I didn't find anybody stopping this trio offensively. All this extra stuff, it's like gravy. It's like going back to the buffet and be like, oh, I'll get some extra cranberry. Yeah. I'll get some extra banana pudding. That's what Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge are. You already have a full course meal right there with that trio.
I'm with you. And then, when you add a guy like Blake Griffin, you add a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge, the way I look at it is, along the way, there'll be one game in the playoffs they win because they got that guy, right?
Yes.
He'll win them one game, or Aldridge will win them one game, and it goes like that. Meanwhile, I started this conversation by talking about Zion and the monster numbers that he's been putting up of late. I want you to hear what Rick Carlisle, the coach of the Mavericks, said about Zion this weekend, because I thought it was fascinating.
He's an unusual force and obviously a great player. And so, we'll have to figure something a little better out next time, but he's doing this to everybody. It presents huge challenges for the defense and for the officials. He is just creating collisions out there. This is a Shaquille O'Neal type force of nature with a point guard skill set.
Force of nature with a point guard skill set, says Rick Carlisle, who's been around and seen a lot. What do you think?
It's called Shaqting a PG. Not Shaqting a fool, Shaqting a PG. He's the most unique player in basketball right now on the planet. He's Karl Malone with LeBron James handles. I mean, that's how he is. And look, we always talk about the lack of skill set with Zion, like that mid-range shot. I've said it a lot, like you're wondering about that piece because he puts himself in harm's way. But when that's 260, 270 coming at you full force, he's either getting to the free throw line or he's powering through. He powers through people, not over the top of people. He has that athletic ability, but he powers through you, and he pushed Rudy Gobert down to the ground like he's mini-me. That's how he made Rudy Gobert feel. Stand next to Rudy Gobert in real life and tell me if you can push him down.
Yeah, Zion is uniquely built. So my question to you is, no one could have come into the NBA with more hype than Zion did. Is he better than you thought he'd be?
Yes, he is. And now he makes me question, at Zion Williamson's team, now what do they do with Brandon Ingram? Brandon Ingram was like that guy, like you're waiting for him, Inspector Gadget. He's going to be a superstar, right? No, Zion's a superstar now. What do you do with Brandon Ingram? Will he be a part of this team for their long-term success?
And they'll have to make those calls. But again, on Zion himself, is he now, when we talk about the elite of the elite players in the NBA, does his name belong on that list?
Yes. Yes, it does. We had Luka Doncic as a top 5 candidate last year to be an MVP. The fact that Zion is if he keeps putting up these numbers at this pace, yes, he is in the upper echelon of the NBA.
He came in with all the hype in the world.
Clearing waivers yesterday and, as expected, signed with the LA Lakers. Drummond hadn't played a game since February 12th after he and the Cavaliers decided to separate via trade or contract buyout. He had interest from several teams, including the Celtics and the Clippers, but decided on the Lakers. Here's Dave McMenamin on the move.
After seeing their lineup decimated by injuries to LeBron James and Anthony Davis and stumbling in the Western Conference standings as of late, the defending champions had reason to smile by landing Andre Drummond, the prize jewel of the NBA buyout market. Lakers coach Frank Vogel said the team was, quote, thrilled to add the 27-year-old center with career averages of 14.6 points and 13.8 rebounds, noting the, quote, immediate lift Drummond will provide. Kyle Kuzma told me that Drummond will also help in the future, rattling off how impactful he could be in playoff matchups against Nikola Jokic in Denver, Yusuf Nurkic in Portland, or in the finals against Joel Embiid in Philadelphia. Markieff Morris, who could see his role lessen with Drummond around, said the timing of the acquisition is, quote, perfect, because it takes away some of the pressure of missing James and Davis while they rest and recover. And as for LeBron and AD, both are several weeks away from a potential return at a minimum. However, there was some good